What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Reality TV Happy Hour. My name is Jordan Parhar, and today we've got a special live double eviction recap episode of Big Brother Over the Top. Should be a really fun night. And just a disclaimer, I think we're going to be very passionate about some of the things we were talking about tonight. So maybe, just maybe, there will be a little bit of cursing. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. We've got a couple people on the panel tonight. First is a man who's all about that Willy Foo-Foo shit. Alex Kidwell, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, how are you?
What it do, monsieur?
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right.
Well, he doesn't say monsieur, but it's really like monsieur. But I'm kind of in a daze right now, Jordan. I don't know. It's been a long week for me.
A long week for a lot of people. A long night for anybody watching this double eviction. It is 1:16 on the East Coast right now. The double eviction, this Big Brother night started at 8 a.m. Eastern, or sorry,
8 p.m.
8 p.m. It feels like 8 a.m., 8 p.m. But yes, it's been a long night. And of course, second on the panel is a man who he's got his fingers in. Screwed it up. The Bob Marley line. I don't know what
Don't
it is.
throw shade. She went out tonight. I love my girl Alex. Yeah, my name is Brent Wolgamott, but you guys know that. Come on, let's have some fun. It's a great double eviction. The Misfits got totally screwed over by Big Brother, and I am living for their tears right now. I must tell you.
Oh, what a night it was. It was very lots of high highs and lots of low lows, depending on what side of the house you are on. But regardless, I feel like we all got screwed in some capacity tonight. So should be a very fun episode to recap. To set things up for you guys, we are live on RHAPpy.com. The chat room I've had some issues with the chat room getting it embedded onto the website. It didn't really work properly, but the chat room, the official chat room of the show, is up over at chatwing.com/RHAPpy Hour. There are some people over there. Rob Sesternino is over there right now, for the record. So should be interesting keeping our eyes on that as the night continues. You can get your questions in for the show if you want to send those to us. You can use hashtag RHAPpy Hour on Twitter. I am at Jordan Parhar, and we will get into those later on in the show as things progress. Okay, guys. So, wow, I don't even really know where to start. There's a lot of stuff that happened here. Just to set things up, there are a lot of people who do not watch Big Brother Over the Top. So they're just listening to the podcast version only. So the basics of what happened tonight was we had a double eviction. Alex went home in the double eviction, or the first part of the double eviction. Morgan won the power of veto via America's Care package, which gave her a special power that normally she wouldn't get, which we will get into. And then, okay, well, we'll talk about it. Danielle was HOH. She decided to nominate Justin and Whitney went home via a tie break. Now, guys, I think the top story...
You missed the major story, which is Rachel Riley coming into the house, Jordan.
Oh,
how could you forget?
Of course, Rachel Riley came to the house as well. But I just wanted to set that up quickly. I had someone complain last week that I didn't set things up properly. So to that person, there you go. Now let's get into what actually the meat of all of this. Guys, okay, first a lot of crazy stuff. Big Brother just changing the rules on us back and forth,
Stop
back and
that.
forth. No,
I'm
not
true.
saying Brent. No, but hold on. Earlier in the day, okay, we had this care package that was talked about for a long time. That, okay, here's this care package in the double eviction. It's going to be the winner gets the veto. That's what the prize is going to be. They announced halfway through the day, by the way, there are some special rules for today, so anybody can get the care package, which really confused a lot of people. It really confused me. I didn't understand why they did that. And then a few hours later, they said, actually, no, we're going to go back to what we initially had, and the original care package rules apply. If you have won a care package, you cannot win it here. So that happened. Then the care package happened. It was for the veto. That is all we knew. It was for the veto. Morgan wins the care package and she gets the veto. I assume, okay, great. She's got the veto. She's safe. It means Shelby's going to go home. No, it means that Morgan is safe. She has immunity and she has the right to save someone with the power of veto before the safety ceremony. So
for God's sake, get to the end of the sentence.
Brent, go ahead. I think that is it. I'm happy with the outcome, but I think this is complete BS and complete rigging by Big
First
Brother.
of all, to your minor point, which I have no idea why you're leading with this right now, but for as far as CBS goes, obviously some interns had some rules on the site. They said that everybody can win a care package. Then they realized, oh my God, the recording of Julie Chen says that only the eligible house guests can win a care package. So we have to change that to make sure that it fits. So now they want to change the rules back. And obviously it was a screw up on the intern's part. Not the first time that that's happened today, by the way. We'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, now to the major point of tonight. The veto holder in normal Big Brother is always immune from nomination. They're the holder of the power of veto, and they can save somebody. Now, obviously, the care package screws it up because the care package is coming before the nominations rather than after. But that does not change the fact that in normal Big Brother, if you are off the block, which Morgan currently was, you are safe, and you are allowed to save anybody with the power of veto. Now, obviously, I think Big Brother could have read this both ways. They chose to read it the way that I wanted them to read it, and boy, was the chat room hopping when Alex, I called her Alex, Morgan read the rules for the care package, and the faces on the Misfits 5 just dropped, and I was absolutely living for it.
Alex Kidwell, what is your take on this? Break the tie. Is this a fair care package, or is this some Willy Foo-Foo shit as Justin described it?
Oh, my boo. It's definitely some Willy Foo-Foo shit for sure. But this whole game is some Willy Foo-Foo
Thank
shit.
you.
I don't know what people are expecting. Like, at no point has any of this been fair. If you want fair, this is not the game for you. It never was. So I think the sooner we can all make our peace with that, the better. I think maybe that's part of the problem with getting so invested in this game to begin with, is that it is some Willy Foo-Foo shit. They're going to throw some stuff at you, and at some point, everyone, I think, is going to end up disappointed by this thing. So that's something to be aware of going forward. But yeah, in regards to this, I misinterpreted it. I'll be one of the first to say that, like, I totally read it wrong, but that doesn't mean that it was rigged or anything. I definitely believe, if anything, Jordan, what you talked about, the fact that there was problems earlier in the day with wording and changing, it speaks to the fact that there's some people over at CBS that don't even know their own freaking rules. And they're very, it's very convoluted rules. And when you have convoluted rules combined with people who are not articulate or not like wording themselves correctly, like, you end up with this kind of a cluster jam with like all of these problems where like everyone's confused and people don't know who to blame. And yeah, I mean, people are wondering if it's fixed. And honestly, I think, that's giving them way too much credit. They don't have near like I would love to think they have their stuff together like that, but they definitely do not. This is just a mistake.
Just to clear up a couple things. Number one, the care packages have gotten more and more powerful as the weeks have gone on. We have seen that. We obviously know the last care package is just a competition to advance straight to the final four. So you're telling me that after we just screwed up Shelby's entire HOH week, where we just handed her HOH to Jason and her ally went out on her HOH, that we're not going to make this care package even more powerful? Of course we are. So to just make it just a random veto just to hand to Morgan, it was never, ever going to be that. It was always going to be more powerful than the veto that you guys were thinking of. Obviously, she was going to be immune. Obviously, she was going to be able to save herself. And I want to address how she got that power in the first place. I think coming into tonight, including myself, Morgan was an underdog to get the care package because we all assumed that if she got the care package, that there might be a chance based on the reading of the rules that Shelby might be evicted. But two things happened. Number one, Morgan's speech, awesome. Alex's speech was a total wash, but Morgan's speech was awesome. She took her time. She knew exactly what she wanted to say, and she dragged every one of those mother effers. Number two, she studied her ass off for the HOH competition. If you watched her and Shelby in that room, you knew that she knew every one of those answers and lost in a heartbreaking tiebreaker. So that, combined with her speech, I think made her an underdog to the voting public, got her just enough in front of Justin to make sure that she got the care package, and she wouldn't have had that if she didn't put in the time that she did into tonight's double eviction.
Hey, now, Brent, some of us like Bob Marley, Three Little Birds, and others.
Yeah, that was Alex, I love you, but no, that was not good. Great night for Morgan, unbelievable.
Great night for
Great
Morgan.
night for Morgan.
Even after she gets the care package, she's playing hard. I think a little too hard, and I think that's what came back to bite her in the butt. We'll talk about it, but she honestly, at the end of tonight, I was going, oh my God, have I been rooting for the wrong sister? I mean, seriously, Morgan was on her game. She was, as someone in the chat room said, she was playing in the paint all night long. And there I was rooting for Alex the entire time. I'm like, Morgan is in this to win it, and I am living for it.
Well, let's talk about the whole the aftermath of that. It was very hilarious.
Really quickly before we move on,
Jordan,
sorry, I would like to add that yes, I misinterpreted it. A lot of people misinterpreted it, but to Brent's point, the only time that we've seen anything like this, and you know, kudos to a few people who pointed this out to me on Twitter. In Big Brother 14, we had that like crane ball game where Ian won an extra veto, and that was pre-nomination. So there is actually a precedent here where like a veto received pre-nominations, keeps you safe for nominations, and then Ian had the option of using it on someone else to keep them safe as well later. So like the BB historian in me should have known.
Right.
Somehow I did not.
Not to just backtrack on my point, though, as I recall, and I'm sure if we had a chat room right now, they would be able to confirm this for us. Where the hell is Taron Armstrong? Where the hell is Ian Terry? I think that Ian was actually eligible to go up for nomination, even though he held the gold veto ball at that point. So Frank was the head of household. Ian held the gold veto ball. I think Frank could have put Ian up only to see Ian obviously come back down. He chose not to do that. He chose to make a deal with Brittany and that group and Ian and get Dan and Danielle up on the block. Obviously, later in the week, he decided to change his mind after Ian didn't use his veto. So I believe Ian was eligible to be nominated that week. But you know what? This is Big Brother over the top. And like I said, the care packages have been getting more and more progressively bigger and bigger. This one had to be bigger than a co-HOH. And obviously that's what Morgan got. So I think we should just leave it there.
Yeah, I think we need someone to fact check that, but I am with Brent. I am pretty sure Ian was eligible to go up in that
I think he
spot.
even tweeted it actually earlier this week.
Okay,
I'll check his Twitter.
All right, so we'll have to get someone to fact check that and get back to us. Let's talk about the aftermath of this, the dichotomy between the start of the night and how the Misfits were behaving, and the end of the night was quite glorious to see. The difference is such a stark contrast. First, they're so happy and like, yeah, we're running the show. Danielle wins HOH. They think they have this thing in the bag. And then all of a sudden, their dreams just crumble. Just like it happens every single time on Big Brother. So Danielle is HOH. She can't nominate Shelby. She can't nominate Morgan. She's forced to nominate two of her own people via the safety ceremony. She lands on Whitney and Justin. She has that conversation, Brent, with Morgan and Shelby, trying to get some information out of them. Danielle really holds the cards close to the vest. She doesn't really give anything away. I was impressed with Danielle in this moment, Brent. Were you?
I was impressed with Danielle in this moment, and I was not as impressed with Morgan and Shelby in this moment. This is where they played too hard. They just basically took all their cards and they put them on the table, and they said, we really want Justin out. We don't trust him. We can't work with him. They even said that in that moment. Justin won't even talk with us. He won't work with us. He's terrible with us. So I'm thinking, if I'm Danielle, why the hell do I want to evict that guy? Like, what about this question mark over here that was just in your alliance not 10 days ago? Okay? Well, what about her? I feel like Danielle, I eventually came around to the fact that this was a no-win situation. There was a case to be made that she should take out Whitney because she's the bigger question mark, and Justin will never turn his back on them. Okay, there's that. On the other hand, Danielle has to know in her heart of hearts that Justin is her bigger threat for the care package going into this next week, and she knows it's got to be all-powerful. So I feel like she was in a no-win situation here. The fact that the girls were pushing so hard to get Justin out, I really feel like did them a disservice. I feel like if they had been a little bit more anti-Whitney, anti-Whitney, and said, you know what, we don't really trust her. We're cool with either one. She's been really terrible to us all week. I feel like even then they might have said, okay, let's get Justin out. But because they were pushing so hard, it gave Danielle and Jason an opportunity. Jason also played very well tonight, keeping his power base intact and being insulated from eviction as far as I can tell in the coming week. it gave them an opportunity to think about it a little longer in this longest double eviction ever and think, you know what, we'd rather get rid of the question mark here and keep the sure thing. We'll deal with Justin later.
Go ahead, Alex.
yes.
Go ahead.
Ready for a fact update to close the book on this veto thing?
Yes.
Okay, so thanks to Haiku Fishback on Twitter, who literally just went back to BB14 episode 20 and watched that deal.
Yay!
Ian was in fact eligible. And then also shout out to Tony's Llama, who reminded me that in BB4, Allison won a veto before June nominated at Final 5, and she was also eligible to be nominated. So either way, I mean, the bottom line is that more clarification was needed, and it was not
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And Alex, it's a Willy Foo shit. I think that's what we learned as a result of that.
No.
Yeah.
I do not buy that. I really don't. Like I said, the order of the care packages have been very, very evident, and I feel like you guys are really overlooking that.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I just think that I would be pissed if I was in there.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
do that.
It's
I will
crazy
say that
powerful.
Justin was absolutely beside himself about it. He was like, how can they vote for this girl? How can they do that? Jason was like, well, if you're a BB historian, you should check your history. And I'm like, bitch, please. You just took somebody at HOHs away from her last week after she totally stomped all over your ass in the competition. And now you're going to talk to me about history? Sit your ass down, for real.
Well, it is. I mean, you have to appreciate the irony in the fact that it was literally not 24 hours. I mean, it was about 24 hours ago that, Alex and Morgan and Shelby were confronting the other 5 in the backyard, asking like, why did you approach us with that Final 5 deal and stuff? And Jason more than once used a phrase that kind of bugged me at the time, and that was team sports. And he referred to like this game being a team game and how it's not time for it to be anything else yet. And no, it never is. This is always an individual game. And I think, it lost in kind of the mix of this season in the dichotomy of, Team Misfit versus Team Plastic. A lot of people have forgotten that this really is an individual game. And it was very evident tonight when the 5 realized all of a sudden that it came down to one of them, and you saw their reactions. I mean, it was powerful. They had not prepared themselves mentally for this possibility tonight.
But Alex, I would take issue with that, though. I think Jason does realize it's an individual game, and I have not been Jason's biggest fan. Anybody who's watched this podcast knows that I've not liked Jason this season. However, he has a golden path in front of him. Both Chrissy and Danielle are willing to take Jason to the final 3 because they like him so much. They don't even care. He's our friend. We want to take him to the final 3 and may the best man win. Now, from Jason's point of view, he thinks he can win that because he's the returning player. He's the vet. So why shouldn't he keep up the front about this is a team sport? I have to keep my team intact, blah, 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 blah. And Justin has even apparently intimated to them, at least Chrissy said this earlier tonight, that Justin's perfectly willing to step out at Final 4 and let Chrissy, Danielle, and Jason advance to the final 3. Apparently that's what they believe. So if I'm Justin, why wouldn't I keep that front up? I would if I was him.
Yeah.
Alex, I want to ask you, what did you take away from that? Again, going back to this conversation before the nominations, Danielle is talking to Morgan and Shelby, trying to get some information out of them. And Danielle says to them, the only real big piece of info she gave up was, I just want to protect Jason. That's the main person I want to protect. What does that say about Jason's game moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think Brent's right. Like, this is a situation, and I was more speaking to the other 4 Misfits who were in such shock and, we're so upset about this outcome, which is an inevitability. Like, once you got to Final 5, best case scenario, you were going to have to turn N-word. And I think Brent is right. I think, whether or not any of them were prepared to do it tonight, I mean, you did see them all react emotionally tonight. And I don't think, I don't think Jason was like faking his tears. I think Jason was genuinely upset that this outcome happened because none of them expected it. But the outcome, the status quo outcome, if it played out to Final 5 Misfits and everything, yeah, like Brent said, it benefits Jason. It works out well for Jason in Jason's mind. So there's no reason for him to defer from that. However, yeah, you look at like a player like Danielle, who had some power, who had some ability to manipulate some things tonight. And yeah, I don't think she's necessarily, she might be in the top 3 there with Jason, but she might also be 4.
Speaking of the tiers there, Alex, we got a question here from Ari Ferrari. He says, why were there so many tiers tonight? Are they all really such close friends. Brent, there were a lot of tears, my friend, over Whitney, who just joined their alliance like last
That's
week.
what I was saying. Like, really? Bitch just joined your alliance like yesterday, and you're all verklempt over losing her? Give me a break. I thought a lot of this was for show, especially on Chrissy and Jason's part. I mean, I saw a little bit of crocodile tears coming from Jason. Was he nervous at times? Was he sad at times? Yes, but it's sort of like Survivor, where, you know what, everybody else is crying. I better fit in with them and start crying with them. I don't want to seem like the one heartless bitch on the show who's only concerned about strategy. So I did feel like he was turning on the waterworks a little bit. I don't understand the crying. Obviously, look, if you saw anything tonight, Chrissy, up until about 5 minutes to go in the double eviction, she put zero strategic input into tonight. And I am not being mean to her, okay? I am not being mean to her, okay? She has turned this into such a high school clique bullshit competition that it just behooves them to think like, well, we're friends. And the other team, they're so mean. Like they're the mean girls over there. And you know what? All of Twitter, it kind of feels like that. That there's like you either have this team or that team. That's what this season has done to us. So I don't really feel like it's anything new for them to be crying over this. I felt like even if it had gotten down to 5, I feel like they would have always been crying over the next person out.
Brent, how dare you? Chrissy is a mastermind and a great player of this game. Did you see her? She was sitting there in the bathroom, standing there saying nothing while Jason and Danielle were convincing Shelby or trying to convince Shelby and Morgan to do something.
Absolutely nothing. It was crazy. I mean,
it was so bad.
It was so bad.
Just like this.
Well, yeah, it's great podcasting, Jordan.
Right,
yeah, I know, right?
If you're watching, listening in the audio archives, she just sat there crossing her arms. She's like, "What? Are you her body? Are there the bodyguard, Chrissy? Like, why are you even there?"
Well, that's what she does. I mean, she was sitting on the couch earlier, crossing her arms in smugness, knowing that she was going to get Alex out during the speeches, and then later she's crossing her arms in nervousness and insecurity about the things flipping against her. So, I mean, yeah, it's Chrissy is not a social butterfly. She's not suited to the game of Big Brother. She's fortunate that the nature of Big Brother Over the Top allows her to stifle strategy in the way that she really has this season, because she doesn't understand the difference between she'll walk out the door and all her feelings will remain absolutely intact. Whereas, I mean, you can tell some of these people are ready to just kind of drop everything right there and say good game to everyone.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous with Chrissy. I mean, Alex, you said she's not a social person at all, yet she criticizes Morgan and Shelby for not talking to Whitney the past few days. It's like, no kidding. They don't want to talk to Whitney. Whitney just screwed over their entire alliance. Like, Chrissy, you would probably, if Chrissy's response is not even just not talking to a person, she goes and farts on their pillows and rubs her armpits all over their belongings. It's horrific. It's terrible.
Yeah, use your words, Chrissy.
Get out of here, Chrissy. You're just, I can't.
Well, I'm not going to totally drag Chrissy. And I have been anti-Chrissy, and there was one moment when she won HOH where I was cheering for Chrissy just because I love the insanity of it all. But look, there was a moment where Chrissy was talking to Morgan and Shelby right up until the end of the double eviction, and they were talking to her, trying to get her to flip to vote out Justin. And the chat room and we didn't really think that she would do it, but it was there for a possibility. And I thought for a moment they were getting through to her. Look, just because I said this on Twitter, and I'll say it again on the show, that just because this was Jason's best move, and I do believe getting rid of Whitney was Jason's best move, I don't necessarily think that it was Chrissy's best move or Danielle's best move. I think there are arguments to be made that maybe it wasn't their best move, but Jason has kept a tight hold in this alliance, and he's also done a good job of making sure that when he comes up with an idea or a thing that he wants to have happen, he makes it seem like it's their idea. Well, what do you think about this? And and he gets them to go where he wants them to go. So I was impressed with Jason tonight.
Yeah, the fact that Danielle's HOH is able to walk off to the everyone's sitting around the couches except Shelby and Morgan are in the bathroom. Danielle's able to walk off and have a conversation that everyone knows is going to end with a death sentence. Somebody's going home, can't be Morgan, can't be Shelby, and Danielle is basically going in there to determine whose execution she's signing. And Jason is able to go in there later and have this conversation too. And no harm, no foul. Like him and Justin are fine. Like the fact that Justin was a possibility, Jason was in on that conversation and had influence over it, and that it came close, and like it doesn't really seem to bother Justin. So it really does speak to Jason's level of control over his group, that I think they all want to go to the end with them, and none of them are really thinking about, can I beat him? They're just all are thinking about, let's go to the end as friends and see what happens, which is
I mean, Jordan,
good for him.
It's gotten to the point where I don't know if there is a way to get Jason out of this game. I mean, let's say, going into tonight, there's going to be, 6 people left in the House. Remember, America does have a nomination and a vote, so keep that in mind. But let's say that Shelby wins HOH back-to-back. She becomes HOH tonight. Obviously, she would try to go after Jason. Morgan would be a vote to evict Jason. If America would be a vote to evict Jason, what would it be then? It would be 2-2 again, and she would have the vote. So there may be a possibility she can get Jason out, but it would take America's vote behind her to evict him, and I think that's a tough sell.
No, I mean, could you imagine Jason goes home because America votes him out? I mean, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that his support from the public is too much at this point. So I'm with you, Brent. I think Jason's going pretty far in this game. And Alex, I mean, don't you think it would have been a great move for Danielle to go take a shot at him at this point? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's merit to the idea that Danielle should take a shot at Justin. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Getting rid of Justin obviously forces Jason to be closer to you. Chrissy's there, but Chrissy's not perceived necessarily the way you and Justin are, as competition threats, so to speak. So if you get rid of Justin, Jason's looking around at another target he needs to be close to, and you're kind of his new right-hand person by default. If you eliminate Justin, that's you now. You don't have to jockey for that position. And additionally, the big thing is the care package. I mean, Danielle has to think that with Justin out of the house, she's a prime favorite to get the last remaining care package. And that's something that people should really be considering more than they are at this point in the game. It's really, really a big factor to me.
Now, the thing with the care package that I think we should discuss that hasn't been touched upon yet is I don't know 100% if this is legit, but from what I have seen, Brent, there is no care package this upcoming week. So for this HOH cycle,
really?
There is no care package.
There's no care package.
Okay, so Alex, you confirming that, and there is one voting after that.
Right, the next voting isn't until the 17th, which is a week from.
Hell. Okay, well then Jason's fine. Then there's no way to get him out.
This plays like a normal Big Brother week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But there still is America. This is the last week for America's nominee house.
Right.
So
a normal BB15.
A small possibility.
Basically.
Yes. I just want to say something really quickly about Danielle and her decision to get rid of Whitney here. You heard her say at the end that Whitney was coming for her. Remember, we had discussed on this podcast that Whitney was very willing to go after Danielle. Whitney and Justin both were no fan of Danielle. So, getting Whitney out here, I feel like she probably is more likely to win a competition going forward. Danielle made that point to the girls. Like I said, I feel like the girls just played it a little too hard here. They showed their cards, and Danielle realized that by keeping Whitney in the game, there was at least a possibility that Whitney might flip back to the girls, or at least the girls might look at Whitney and go, well, at least we can sort of work with her, but we know we can't work with Danielle and Jason, who absolutely just dragged us yesterday after the veto ceremony. So let's go after them and keep Whitney in the game. Obviously, by keeping Justin in the game, they are looking at Justin as a target for Shelby and Morgan. And, I don't know if that will work or not. I feel like they'll still go after Danny and Jason after this week. I feel like they'll look past Justin, but there's an argument to be made on her part.
Alex, do you think this was the right move for Danielle? And if not, do you think that Shelby and Morgan are going to turn around and target Jason and Danielle?
I don't necessarily think they will, simply because, even though they've burned them, Jason and Danielle have even made an attempt, right? Justin and Chrissy have made no effort whatsoever to even show an inkling that there's any potential working bipartisanship there. There's no effort whatsoever. So I think by default, Shelby and Morgan are forced to kind of take the lesser of two evils in many senses and go with the people who have even tried. That puts Danielle and Jason in, that gives them a leg up, and it really speaks to, Chrissy and Justin's poor social game, especially in recent weeks.
All right. Well, let's jump into some of your questions, guys. Again, you can send those in. Oh, go ahead, Brent.
Well, I just wanted to talk about let's talk about how everybody we already talked about how Morgan and Shelby did. I feel like we talked about Jason and Danielle, but with the person I was really pissed off about tonight, Whitney. I mean, she had been playing well. I think she made a bad call. I mean, I was living for her eviction. Like, girl, you were at the bottom of one alliance. It doesn't pay to jump to the bottom of another alliance because your ass is just going to go home. Girl, bye. See you in Kentucky in a couple days. Having said that, she's been a better player the last couple of weeks. And I feel like she really dropped the ball here. She was, who she was campaigning to the entire time? Justin, the guy who's on the block with her, who doesn't have a vote. She spent her entire time talking with Justin when she should have been in there talking with Danielle. She should have been in there talking with Jason, saying, those girls are bitches. I'm never working with them again. You guys have my loyalty. We have to get Justin out. I mean, this is like you or him, girl. Wake up. It's $250,000. She did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well,
totally
Brent, I think part of it is that Whitney seemed to think she was safe. No,
she was crying the entire night.
She was crying.
If she thought she was safe, that is a horrible miscalculation on her part. She just joined this alliance like 10 days ago, and I'm being generous with that. She should have been in there making sure that she was safe. We talk about this all the time on the double evictions on the real show where they have like 5 minutes to go and talk to somebody. She had like an hour and a half tonight. She sat in the bedroom feeling sorry for herself with Justin. Alex, please join me on this.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, what's the worst that's going to happen at that point? You have to kind of throw it at the wall at that point. You're in trouble. You're going home. And she's in a position where her reputation in the house already is a floater. Everyone looks at her as someone who's going to be wavering. I mean, they talk about it. Both sides talk about Whitney as someone they have to worry about behind closed doors. So it really is a point where she actually could do no harm to her reputation in the house. All she could do is good by trying to create some deals and rework some scenarios if possible. And then, yeah, I mean, on top of that, it's just, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had something else, but I forget it now.
That's okay. She just played badly. She
Long
totally
day.
dropped the ball. She didn't play at all. That's the thing. It's not like
Yes.
I would have been okay if she played badly. At least I think Justin played badly tonight, okay? But Whitney didn't play at all, and that was she gets a total incomplete from me because she played horribly.
I know what I was going to say.
What?
This kind of reminded me, like, this moment, it just, she broke down, she got upset, she got emotional, and she didn't do any of the things that you would think someone who's a fan of this game would think to do. And it just reminded me, right, this girl's 21. She's so mature sometimes that you almost forget, right? Like, or at least I do, just with the way she talks, with the way she's good under some of the heat that she's faced this season. And, the more I thought about it, she really does. And I've said this, I think, before, but she reminds me of like that first life BB16 Nicole, who was like another young medical assistant student with a funny, slow accent who was in a position like this, where when she had the screws put to her, people were expecting her to fight and do more. And she just didn't really know what to do. And I think it speaks a lot more to just naivety and life experience and, more than anything else. Like, it's just tough to be a 21-year-old and have the screws put to you like that and feel like, that level of panic.
Yeah, it's I've heard that's pretty tough, Alex, from what I've heard.
What do you think, Jordan? Is that apt?
Yeah, I think I would say from what I've heard, that's pretty apt.
I just have an update that they're getting ready to start the HOH competition. I don't think they're going to be done by the time this podcast ends. In fact, I'm pretty positive of it. However, remember that Shelby is, I don't know if you've heard, Jordan, but she is a lawyer, and she's recently taken the bar, and she always talks about her LSAT scores. And when she was doing the HOH competition this past week, she said that, doing the face morph was just like a logic puzzle, just like her LSATs. Which brings me to my point. I have 2 points. Number one, the HOH competition looks like a logic puzzle. I think Shelby's got an upper hand on this because it looks very interesting. Number two, Big Brother, in their insanity of this season, accidentally played Shelby's diary room over the loudspeakers in the house, and the Misfits heard it. Luckily, I don't think that they were really paying attention, or they don't know what an LSAT is. I'm sure they think it's like some position for sexual favors or something, but she
probably think it's like an ACT equivalent.
I know, right? They have no idea, so I think her secret is safe. But Shelby was the look on her face when she heard herself talking over the loudspeakers. I wish I could take a picture of.
So yeah, just to update you, the HOH has started. Jason is going first. Everyone's sequestered in separate rooms. Justin is in the yoga room, like rapping to himself or like saying some ridiculous stuff. That's pretty absurd. I want to go back and listen to all of that. But yeah, it reminds me of Jordan. Did you ever get around to watching The Genius?
I did not get around to watching.
Okay,
The
so
Genius,
in season,
don't tell Colin Stone. Don't tell.
Yeah,
Colin.
yeah. Well, okay, deal. In season 3, at one point, they play this laser chess, I believe, where like, you know, pieces are manipulated by kind of like where the laser shines, and that determines which pieces are taken off the board. This kind of reminds me of that, where there's a lot of mirrors that can be moved and manipulated. There's a green laser shining across, and you've got to get it from point A to wherever the finish line is. So Jason is moving mirrors from peg to peg, trying to find the way to shine the laser where it needs to go. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones thing, where you need the light to go exactly where it needs to go to open the temple.
Right, and there are lots of obstacles in the way, so he can't put the lights exactly where he wants to. That would just be very straightforward, and it's probably going to take some outside-the-box thinking. I'm hoping our logic girl puzzle lady, Shelby, has an edge in this competition.
Logic puzzle girl lady Shelby, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this does sound like it is very much up Shelby's alley, so we will have to wait and see. And it seems interesting because the first competition of the season seemed very Genius-esque, so maybe one of the challenge producers is a big Genius fan or something like that.
Hopefully, that would be a good thing.
It would be cool. But just to go back quickly to reference, if you want to see said video where Shelby hears her diary room being projected all throughout the house that Brent was talking about, if you go to the Big Brother subreddit, check out our friends over there. You can see there was a post there. It'll probably if you're listening to this in the morning, it'll probably be a little bit down on the homepage, but it should be there for you to see it. It is quite ridiculous. Go ahead, Brent.
Just quickly, before we get into questions, because there's one more thing I wanted to tackle before we get into questions, and I'm sure I'm going to forget it, and I don't know if anybody's going to ask about it. I'm hoping they are, because I'm hoping they picked up on the same thing that I did. Okay. A little ham-handed with the editing on Big Brother. I mean, my God, I know that you're trying to make Jason seem like a strategic genius, but showing him in the diary room, getting the girls to do things that they were already going to do anyway, and then hearing him in the diary room talking about how he's a strategic genius by getting them to do this was so far beyond the pale for Big Brother. I was like, please, I mean, yeah, everybody in the chat room, everybody even who likes Jason could see this coming a mile away. Just stop. Like, we see everything. We're omniscient. You don't have to fool us. We know that Jason didn't do anything by getting them to put up Whitney as the nominee last week. They were going to do that anyway at the end of the day. So stop. Okay. Sorry.
Brent, he's getting the winner's edit. Okay.
Apparently. My God.
No, Brent, it was a huge blindside.
Oh, so blindside. Like, oh my God, that move was so amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem with BBOTT, right? I mean, there's been no real strategy this season. So by equivalency standards, that is a blindside because people were surprised by a thing, but it certainly wasn't like a strategic, like subtle, like shift that happened without people's awareness. Like, it was more of a situation where like a boxer has a guy and he can knock him out in one punch, and he decides to slap him around a little bit and then knock him out afterwards.
I felt like it was like the Roadrunner where the anvil lands on the coyote's head. Like, that's what I felt like it was happening with the editing tonight. Okay, Jordan, let's take our first question.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Okay, let's take our first question. This one's from John Densford. John says, by the way, great charts by John projecting all of the scenarios, even though Brent didn't like it. I thought you did a great job, John. So thank you. This question from John is, are Morgan and Whitney now in the best position in the house?
Morgan and Whitney?
Yes.
Whitney's
Oh,
gone.
sorry. Whitney's gone. I think he meant Morgan and Shelby. Sorry, Morgan.
Whitney's
and
in
Shelby
the best position on the Greyhound bus. Back.
Did you guys catch when Whitney and Justin were on the couch talking about like what was gonna happen? Justin's like, "Yo, man, I hope they give me a flat out of here tonight." And Whitney's like, "No, you gotta do an interview tomorrow." And Justin's like, "Oh, I'm not doing no interview. I'm going home. I'm not doing this." And he was so mad. It was great. It's really great.
I mean, are they? No, I don't think they're in a good spot. I mean, they could be, but it's still 4 against 2 at this point, and the 4 will not turn on each other. Justin will never make a deal with those girls, and I can never, ever, 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 ever see Chrissy, Jason, or Danielle getting somebody on their team out before at least one of the girls goes out, if not both of them. So, I mean, no, I don't think they're in a good position at all. If they win this HOH, then I think things are looking a little bit better. I feel like the girls have to win out in order to get to the end.
Alex, I think the girls are in a great spot to win this HOH because look at who they're going against. Jason, Chrissy, and Justin. Justin is not going to even understand how this puzzle works. Chrissy is only good at rolling balls down like a little lane, and that's not what this competition is. And then there's Jason. So really, they only have to beat one person, Alex.
Right. Well, Jason literally just rang the buzzer. So to me, that he set a pretty good time. Like he certainly didn't take forever with this. So I agree with you. Jason is the one to beat. We've seen Justin, take bathroom breaks and chill during comps before. You'd like to think at some point he's going to like turn it on, but I just think that's Justin. I don't think necessarily like they're saying he's throwing comps. Like, I just think Justin kind of throws life. You know what I mean? Like that's just that's who he is, man. He's not going to take anything full speed. Like he's one of these people that, nothing good comes from hustling. Like what's the point? I'll get there when I get there, and that's fine. Some people live that way. Like that's just a style of person that exists. Like,
and when he was on the block, that's what he was basically saying. He's like, "Oh, guys, it doesn't matter. This is no big deal." He's like, "I'll just go home." Like he just doesn't care, which is great.
I mean, he's mostly cool. Yeah. And then with Chrissy, like first, her hands still hurt and she's going to have to move these mirrors from peg to peg. And that's like really something in and of itself. And then, just top of like, this is, definitely takes a lot of, like Jason was moving, he was hustling to get this done. And like Chrissy is not someone that has been inclined to like really hustle in these things. She's given up in a few of them. So yeah, Jason's going to be the time to beat.
Right. Jason put up a time of about 8 minutes and change there. So I think looking at the competition, I feel like it's a little long. On the other hand, remember that Shelby, when she put up that 3-minute time in the face morph competition, she went out there with 27 minutes on the clock, for God's sake. So, I mean, there was no pressure on her to really do anything. If there's 8 minutes on the clock, I feel like that's going to light a fire more under people. They're going to relax for the first few minutes, but after they're not initially getting it, they could start to panic. So this possibly could be a good time, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and just an update on Jason's time. Apparently, Joker's clocked it at 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So we'll have to. And I also see other times saying 10 minutes. So we'll have to. We will see. We'll see.
I'm sorry. Somebody in the chat room is making sure that I want to point out that Chrissy's light allergy will affect her badly for this competition. So we should feel sorry for her. Have some compassion, JP.
Wait, she has a light allergy?
Apparently a light allergy. Yes, exactly.
You can have like an aversion to light. You can't have an allergy to it.
Is she a vampire? Is she a vampire? Like the light, like she melts?
No.
Vampire.
We do not claim her as one of the children of the night. I will not sign off on that.
I don't know, Alex.
Weird though. I brought up vampires, and all of a sudden Siri started talking to me on my phone. I was like, "What is happening?"
Oh, wow, okay. All right. Okay.
She shows up in mirrors, Jordan. You can tell. Watch the live. You know
right,
she's
exactly. The mirrors will tell the story.
Yeah.
All right. This question's from John Reed. John says, Whitney got screwed tonight by a rule change, but was she a good player? Was her flip smart? Alex Kidwell. Was it a smart move for her to flip?
Whitney?
Yes.
Yeah. So ultimately, everyone did what they had to do, right? Some people are saying like, what do you want from Whitney? And right, what do you want from Whitney? And other people are saying, what do you want from Alex and Scott? And yeah, what do you want from Alex and Scott? Like that whole situation was just people doing what they had to do, basically. And I don't think you can fault any of them for doing what they did, trying to save their own lives in the Big Brother game. Alex and Scott were done if they don't sell someone under the bus. Scott is like adamant that it's Whitney, and Alex is willing to roll with that. She's not going to try to fight Scott on that for fear he turns it into Morgan, who she's related to. He's not going to beat Shelby. So by default, it's Whitney. Scott was really pushing on that the hardest, but yeah, Alex went with that. By the same token, when Jason like runs that material back to Whitney, and Whitney's able to like pretty much confirm that like, yeah, I'm in trouble. My own people are giving up stuff about me. Pretty much the only move at that point is to try to, you know, build something on the other side. When the ship is sinking, all you can do is look around for dry land. So you can't really fault anyone for what they did. It's just, you know, this game is so crazy. There's so much variance with these care packages and stuff that it worked out the way it did. There was no position she was going to be able to put herself in where, other than like starting to win some power and like take out some power players, she was going to be setting herself up to win this thing at least. So, I mean, maybe take some solace in that if you're a Whitney fan, that the road to the victory was next to impossible to see. But yeah.
All right. This question comes from the chat room. And again, if you want to check out the chat room, had some issues with the website. If you want to jump over to chatwing.com/RHAPpy, that's where you can find the chat for this episode. This one comes from Jake Freud. Jake says, question for the LFC JP. If Shelby or Morgan win HOH, who should they target? Brent?
Wow, that's a tough question. I mean, I feel like they have to take a stab at Jason. I feel like they have to put Jason and Danielle on the block. I mean, Danielle made it self-evident in the double eviction that she's not willing to turn on Jason. That's her number one guy. And so I feel like that I mean, they're the two biggest threats to win. I feel like Danielle has a great underdog story. I think the house can even feel it a little bit. She's building a nice little resume for herself here. Even though she didn't get the result that she wanted with her HOH tonight, she does have another notch on her, I was going to say her bedpost, but that's probably a bad analogy. But she does have a notch on her a log that she something else on her resume that she can point to, and the house is aware of that. So, you know, I mean, give her one more veto win, one more HOH win. I feel like it's going to be very tough for Jason to take her to the finals. But I don't know. What was the original question?
The original question is who should they target if they win?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like they should go after Jason. He has almost a cult-like control over everybody right now. But I don't know if they can get him out. But I feel like they have to take a swing at it.
Alex, all I can think of now is HOH is a notch in a bedpost, but POV is a line in a song.
Sorry, that was the first thing that came to mind. Sorry, Danielle.
Well done. Well done, Brent. Alex, who do you think they will target if one of those two girls wins?
Difficult to say. I think I think probably Justin. I feel like the fact that Danielle and Jason have made any kind of an effort speaks to the fact that like they're going to be more able to work something. There's going to be a lot of time in between whoever wins this competition tonight and, you know, an eviction all the way next week. And who's going to put in work? Chrissy? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like over the course of time, Danielle and Jason are going to be selling something. And even if you don't love what they're selling, I feel like you're going to look around and there's not going to be any other real offers on the table. And so what are you going to do?
No, I hear you there, man.
Oh, boy. I don't know, though. I know they were really irritated with the fact that Danielle and Jason did not take the swing at Justin tonight. I mean, you heard Shelby and Morgan talking about in the bedroom, like, you know, you have him on a silver platter. There's nothing standing in your way, and you don't get him out. I think they were really pissed off that Danielle specifically did not follow through on that. That's why they forced her to break the tie. I mean, look, coming into the double eviction, the girls were rooting for Justin to win the game if they were all evicted because they view him as the guy who probably needs the money the most, the nicest guy of the bunch of them. And so I am hard-pressed to believe that they would go after Justin. I think that they would still want to take a swing at Jason because Alex was adamant that Jason be out of the game. I think Morgan would want to finish her sister's work.
And it's true that they weren't thrilled about the result. Like, they wanted to see Justin go over Whitney, and Danny and Jason wouldn't let that happen. And, you know, in the brief moments after that, Morgan and Shelby were saying, well, at least we forced the tie. At least we made them get the blood on their hands, because ideally their outcome would have been to get Jason and Danny to go with them to get rid of Justin, and that didn't happen. So again, another instance of, and it's come from both sides all season, but one side attempting to, reach out the olive branch, and the other side ultimately deciding not to take it for another round.
All right, this next question comes from familiar face, John Kraus of Team Taryn in the So You Think You Can podcast competition.
No, John, you did great. Sorry.
Settle down, Brent.
Great job by John the other night. John says, who put themselves in the best position post-double eviction, and who put themselves in the worst? Brent, we'll start with you. So who put themselves in the best position following this double eviction?
Wow, I'm gonna say Danielle, but that's a tenuous answer because she didn't give Shelby and Morgan what they wanted, and she's also I can't even talk. I'm so excited about her win. That she's put a little bit of a target on her back with 3 comp wins in the last 2 weeks now. 2.5 weeks. So, I'm worried that she's going to look like an inviting target. Having said that, I don't see anybody from her quote unquote team getting her out before they at least get one of Shelby or Morgan out. But if they do, let's say for the sake of argument that somebody on the Misfits wins HOH, they're able to get Morgan out. I feel like at that point, Jason might take a hard look at getting rid of Danielle over Shelby. He's always said he wanted to take Shelby to the Final Four. I don't know who he meant with, but I know he was talking about that early on, maybe at least as late as 2 weeks ago. So maybe he might be threatened by Danielle. And Morgan and Shelby correctly pointed that out, that even Jason might be threatened by Danielle, coming down the line here.
Alex, who do you think put themselves in the worst position following this double eviction?
Well, I think in terms of who fell the most, it's Justin, because Justin was in a great spot having Whitney as an option, a vote in his back pocket, kind of. Whitney going her closest ally was Justin. So kind of by default, whoever goes, I look to who needed that person in the house the most. But at the same time, Morgan and Shelby still remain on the bottom. They still are in a position where they really need to win. So from that perspective, it's hard not to consider them losers, even though they were momentary winners tonight. They won the battle, but the war is still certainly not in their favor. And on the other side, I definitely think Jason was the biggest winner tonight, because even though getting Whitney out does kind of keep Danielle from being kind of supplanted by Whitney within that group, I think more long-term, this has kind of allowed Jason to rein Justin in. Everyone has Jason in their endgame plans now, for sure. There's no one who's even going to get frisky and consider other options among that group of 4 now. So Jason is set up very well going forward.
All right, this next question is from Adam Adam, I'm sorry. This is a hard last name. Boya Giovanni? Is that
it's Buon Giovanni.
Okay.
He's not even on my team, and I know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I need to work on it, Adam. I love you, but I don't know how to get you.
Not Italian.
No, I actually am part Italian, believe it or not. But
that's a disappointment.
I know. But the thing is that my relatives are. I don't have any of them here, so I was never taught the proper Italian way.
Buon Giovanni. Buon Giovanni.
Yeah. No pasta fasole for you.
No, definitely not. Adam says, final 3, Jason, Shelby, and Justin. Who wins? Brent?
I feel like Shelby takes that. I really do think that the fans really like her spunkiness. She's just got a personality about her that is really... it's rootable. It really is. And I feel like that Jason and Justin might split a few votes. I think Jason would probably get the majority, but I do think there's some people who like Justin no matter what. I saw some people in the chat room earlier tonight saying that they just love Justin. He's such a great guy, so fun. And it's very hard to dislike Justin. You don't really want to be sitting next to your own alliance member in the final 3 if you can help it. By the way, so just a FYI, really bad call on Big Brother's part to do a final 3. I mean, because they're doing a final 3, it lets Jason, Danny, and Chrissy just coast. They don't have to worry. They know Justin's willing to go out at 4. Like, they're totally fine with the way things are going. They don't have to worry about who's closer to who. It really stagnates strategy when you put in a final 3 because they can just vote as a block the entire time. If it was a final 2, you know that there would be more conversations happening earlier tonight. But because it's a final 3, Chrissy, Jason, Danny, they all came to an agreement. Let's keep Justin around. Let's get out Whitney. And that's what told the tale.
Yeah, I think that's fair there. What do you think about that, Alex? Final 3, Jason, Shelby, Justin. You co-sign that? You think Shelby's winning that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the point Brent brought up about the vote splitting among a contingency of a fan base is the most important one. I think if you have a situation like that, and maybe it's different if it's someone like Chrissy who doesn't seem to at any point this season have really built up a large following that's like exclusive to her and not just the people she's associated with. But in a situation like Jason, Justin, and Shelby, I think you do run into people who, and Jason obviously is going to have a lot of people backing him if he's in that finale. You're going to have a lot of Big Brother alumni who he is friends with and nobody else in that house is friends with, who are going to be tweeting people to go vote for him and stuff like that. I mean, he's got a lot of things in his corner, but a lot of people will be inclined to vote for Justin that otherwise would vote for Jason if Justin wasn't there and say Chrissy was. So by default, I think you have to look at the fact that the other side got care packages this season. And if there's enough people to have care packages go against Jason and what he wants at points this season, certainly there's enough people to push Shelby to a win if some of Jason's votes are getting taken away.
I also feel like Jason is really underestimating Danielle. I know this wasn't in the question, but whether or not it's Jason, Justin, and somebody, or Jason, Danielle, and somebody, I feel like he doesn't want to be there with either one of those two people because they will definitely take votes away from him. He has to be there with Chrissy and somebody like Shelby or Morgan to have a chance to win. If he's there with Danielle or Justin, I just don't see it.
Yeah, or I mean, if he gets there with like Chrissy and Justin,
yeah,
and if it's an all Misfits finale,
I can accept that.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And also, what's going to play a big role here is final trajectory. Like, people have established themselves at this point in the season, but when we get to the finale vote, what's fresh in people's minds is going to be what they're really looking at, in my mind. And if somebody has like a killer last couple weeks and really like just presents themselves as someone that really is like on a positive arc, I think whoever that person is going to, see an uptick in votes no matter what the scenario, simply because like that's always been the nature of Big Brothers. You see people get hot towards the end, and that by and large tends to be the person who wins.
All right, let's take a couple more before we call it a night. It is it's 2:12 on the East Coast.
Right, and they haven't even gotten to the second person yet. So this is going to go for a long time.
Yeah, this is going to take too long. I got school tomorrow.
The longest double eviction by like 4.5 hours is my prediction.
Yeah.
So like, whatever the longest double eviction was before tonight, add 4.5 hours, and that's what tonight will be. That's my guess.
What a night. What a night. Okay, this question is from Unofficial Zingbot. Unofficial Zingbot says, this one's for you, Brent. More rewarding night for you, Brent Wolgamott. Victor's second return in BB18 or all of the tears shed tonight?
Oh my God, it's not even close. Come on. I mean, we always felt like Victor was probably going to come back for a second time. And that was the joke. Like, wouldn't it be fun to see him come back a third time and get evicted again? Like, for real, like the tears shed by the Misfits after I have had to put up with all the bullshit all week of Shelby, the high of Shelby just totally bossing and slaying that competition, to having it totally taken away from her by people who wanted to put up a player in Alex and let somebody like Chrissy coast. I'm still looking at all you people out there. Miss Cleo, Eric from Reality Recaps, Coco the Bear. I see you. Don't think I don't see you. But given that they all wanted to do that, I was living for it tonight. And by the way, please don't say to Eric or Coco or Miss Cleo that I'm trying to throw shade at them. It's all in good fun. We've talked about this off Twitter, so don't try to get me in trouble. It ain't going to work. Girl, bye.
Wait, Brent, have people been getting you in trouble, Brent?
Yes, and Eric wrote to me and said, people in his chat room on YouNow were like saying that Brent was talking shade about Eric from Reality Recap. Please, this is all in good fun. Like, especially, look, girl, please, after last night in America, give me a break. I got bigger problems to worry about than who I offend on Twitter. See you later.
People like to get involved, but they also need to be aware that Brent will come for your wig.
Exactly.
By the way, Morgan has just started the competition.
Morgan has entered the playing area.
Yes.
Okay,
Take the
wow,
field.
There we go. All right, we got one here. This one is from Ruth Jean. She says, this one's just addressed to me. How can you laugh and enjoy what happened on the double eviction? Just horrible from someone with the dumbest play in Big Brother history. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person. I probably should preface all the podcast with that, but I just found that
right. Come on, Ruth Jean. Like, people get tired of Jordan being self-deprecating. I so many tweets directly to me who say, you know, like, I love Jordan, but I wish he would stop bagging on himself all the time. It really gets old. Like, I mean, so people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, like, look, there's a lot more to Jordan than his massive, epic screw up in Big Brother Canada. There's more to him than that. All right. I just can't think of what it is at the moment.
It's late, Brent. I'll give you a break.
Right? It's late.
No, I just find that always hilarious. Very funny. So big shout out to her. Okay, this next question is from. This isn't a question. This is just a statement.
Well, the bottom line is, Jordan, anyone, a fan, a good player, a terrible player, a complicated onion such as yourself, anyone can have an opinion on these events. It doesn't matter what facts exist.
It doesn't matter.
Anyone is allowed to take on what's going on here, and sometimes people's takes match up and sometimes they don't, and it doesn't necessarily mean that people are coercing other people or like they're all having like some kind of a hive mind. It's just sometimes people are looking at a thing and they're like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. And then sometimes you're like, are you seeing this thing? Like, yeah, what's the big deal? Like, what's the big deal? Like, so you never know. It's just like different people's past events shape what they think is normal behavior, and all season we've seen that the same material has very different outcomes on different subsects of the audience. So to me, that's been like kind of the most interesting thing about BBOTT is how so many of us can watch the exact same thing and be like, how can you root for these girls? Well, how can you root for these like obnoxious people who burp and fart and like, do horrible things to the pillows and wipe the boogers and that thing? So like, it really is an interesting dichotomy. And I'd like to think that like at some point we can move past the anger and the frustration, because this game is so clearly OTT at this point, and just appreciate it for what it is, which is a very, very insane, interesting experiment that CBS has tried here.
Right. And you know what? Jason was talking to Justin earlier tonight about this. He was like, you know what? Because Justin was incredulous that America had given Morgan the veto during the double eviction. And Jason was like, look, America likes an underdog. Even if they hate the underdog, they love the underdog because they don't want it to be predictable. And for all of you out there who are mad that Morgan got the veto and mad that she was immune from eviction and got to protect Shelby, tell me what the world would look like if one of them had been evicted tonight. I mean, seriously, it would have been an absolute stampede to the end for Jason, Chrissy, and Danielle. And while some of you might want that, I don't want to have to podcast about that for the next 2.5, 3 weeks. I mean, I really don't. I want a little bit of suspense. I want them to have to fight for it. We, and this isn't a new phenomenon. Big Brother 16, Derek was by far the best player, and I rooted against him for so long because I wanted him to have to earn it. And all those same people out there who are saying the same thing about Alex, Coco the Bear on Twitter. I want Alex to have to fight and earn it. Well, I want the Misfits to have to earn it. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and I'm sure a good gander. Just telling you.
All good stories, the protagonist has to overcome some adversity, right? Like without adversity, where's the journey? Like what's the point? Like you got to like stroll to the finish line? Oh, that's boring. That's not interesting. There's nothing to overcome there. And it's exciting to see people be put in a position where they actually have to deal with some of that. I mean, I don't think there's anyone now this season that you can say hasn't had to face something that was, for lack of a better term, willy foo-foo shit.
Okay, a couple more. This one's just a statement. This one's from Thitan. Thitan says, hey, I think a BBOTT history moment happened tonight. There were 4 HOHs in one evening. That's I didn't even think about that, but I think he's right because we had Shelby and Jason, we had Danielle, and now we're gonna have one more. So there we go. So interesting.
Well, technically we're on. Oh, actually, that's not true because BB. It depends on when this competition ends, but right now it's 11:19 BB time. I was gonna say we're on to a different day by now.
Yeah,
well, we certainly are on a different day right now. But yeah, the house guests are cutting it close to midnight.
And this last one is a question. This one's from Katie. She says, is it possible for Shelby and Morgan to form an alliance with Danielle? Will we see a split house the rest of the season? That's the other part to it. So first part, Alex, I'll throw it to you. Is it possible for Shelby and Morgan to form an alliance with Danny?
It's possible, but I think it comes down to Danny. Danny's going to need to want to deviate. And, you know, certainly if Shelby and Morgan win head of household here, it's going to be easy. But will it last more than that week? You know, like they're going to not probably target Danny because, if, you know, from their perspective, I think Danny is the person that they need to be looking at to at least try to work with, to at least try to pry away from the rest of the group. But Danny has proven remarkably loyal to those people throughout the game. It's hard for me to imagine that any of the four of them are going to do anything more than what they have to save themselves for the week, assuming Morgan or Shelby win.
And then Brent, Leno, will we see a split house the rest of the way?
I mean, I think that, like I said, Shelby and Morgan are going to have to win out. I don't see any reason at this point that Danielle would come over to their side unless it was like a blinking red light in front of her that, girl, you're in trouble. You need to make a switch here. And I think by the time that situation comes up, it's probably going to be too late for her. I really do think that Danielle might be in danger. Although, on the other hand, I think she's probably, I wouldn't say a shoo-in for the care package, but I know that I'm certainly probably going to vote for Danielle for the final four care package, just because I think that she, of the Misfits, is playing balls out. And she's, like, as somebody who's probably been rooting for the Ball Smashers more than the Misfits, I empathize with Danielle. I really do like her. I feel like she's been the one who's been able to bridge a little bit of, you know, people on both sides rooting for her. That's why so many people on Alex's team, on Team Alex, were rooting for Danielle and seemed to like her because she wasn't such a bitch like everybody else on the Misfits or the Ball Smashers.
All right, guys. Well, I think that is going to do it for this edition of the RHAPpy Hour. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate it. If you guys want to start brainstorming some hashtag ideas in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated, although I already have one myself. Alex, Kidwell, any final thoughts for tonight?
Nope, I'm tired. Somehow I think I'm going to keep watching this comp, though. This is kind of drawing my attention.
Okay, so 2:21 in the morning. He's still going. It's Alex Kidwell. You can follow him on Twitter at Alex Kidwell. Brent, final thoughts?
No, honestly, great night. A lot of strategy took place during the double eviction. A lot of talking, at least, took place during the double eviction. It was really a tough call on Danielle's part about what to do. She went with her gut. I hope it works out for her. I probably would have gone the other way, but on the other hand, we're omniscient out here. We know that Justin is a danger to her to get the care package, and then Whitney probably really isn't. So, but from her point of view, she might look at Whitney as equal to Justin. Like, you know, well, Whitney's a really sweet Southern girl. She, you know, nobody dislikes Whitney. You know, they each could win the care package, and Danielle made a note of that tonight. So whether or not she believes that or not, or that was just spin to Morgan and Shelby, I think is another matter. But I don't blame her for taking the route that she did, given how badly Morgan and Shelby showed their hand tonight.
All right. Well, you can follow Brent on Twitter. He's at OneLuckyGay, and you can find Brent again tomorrow with Team Brent on the So You Think You Can podcast competition, where Brent and his team will be talking about of potential new live correspondents. We'll be talking about the results of this HOH competition, Brent.
Well, I was just going to say that Leanna Boris and Dustin West have moved on to round 2, so it's just going to be the 3 of us tomorrow. We're going to get into a lot of the nitty-gritty. Hopefully we get a good outcome for this HOH. I don't even know who they're rooting for, but I know who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Shelby or Morgan. But besides that, Cam's to the hamster, Cam Perry was on my team. Honestly, everybody on my team did such a great job. I felt bad that we had to lose somebody. I felt like my team was a little bit stacked, but that's because I picked so well. But everybody on my team did great. Cam, you did an awesome job, and I can't wait to see Dustin and Leanna tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great show. So that's tomorrow. I believe that's at 7
o'clock.
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah,
7 o'clock. So 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. You can find that on RHAPpyswebsite.com. You can follow Brent and I think I don't know the link should just be up on the website. Brent will be tweeting out the link, and if you follow Rob Sesternino, I'm sure he'll be tweeting it out as well. So keep an eye out for that. And then there's also going to be a recap Friday. Alex Kidwell, you and Taryn Armstrong will be back with Rob on Friday, correct?
That's right. And then Saturday at 3, I'm going live with my team. I lost Nadia on my team. I thought she did a really, really great job. It was a shame to lose her, but I'm going on again with Aman, with Adam, the aforementioned Adam Bongiovanni, and with your buddy Jordan Puya to talk about, at that point, what will be maybe some nominations. I don't know exactly. What is there safety ceremony anymore? So I'm sure we'll get into all that on Saturday.
Right.
and it's a double eviction, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, on your team, it's a double.
On my
It's
team.
on your
I'm like,
team.
BBOTT and everything has me so frazzled. Yeah, double elimination episode in the spirit of double eviction week. Sadly, we are ramping this competition into high gear, and I am going to have to say goodbye to 2 of my prospects. I'm not excited about it, but definitely tune into that show. It'll be a good one. And one final update, Morgan, I'm positive now, has gone over Jason's time. So if you're looking for something to change up here, Shell Bay or bust is where it's at.
Yeah, it looks like they're not putting a time on the board. Like, it looks like they're giving everybody a full 20 minutes, it looks like, and you're just putting up your best time. So I guess what I said earlier about somebody having to feel the pressure of trying to complete something in a shorter length of time, I don't think that's going to come to pass. But again, I'm watching RHAP as I'm podcasting, so it's very hard for me to see exactly what's going on. It looks like Morgan is actually close to figuring out the solution, but I know she's over Jason's time at this point, it looks like.
All right, so keep an eye on the keep your eyes on Twitter for that, and again, check out the show with Brent tomorrow. Just an update for you guys. For me, Sunday normally we do the Happy Hour Roundtable show. I'm actually going to a wedding this weekend, so I will not be able to make that show, unfortunately. So the LFC are just going to take over and do the show entirely by themselves now that they've been getting some hosting experience. So I'm very excited to see what will happen between Taryn and Brent when I'm not here to moderate. So that should be a very fun time. So definitely check that out. That'll be Sunday night. And keep it locked to the LFC's Twitter to find out the official time of that. But it should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to checking out what these guys have to say. Then I'll be back 1 week from tonight to recap next week's eviction. We'll talk about all of that craziness. Probably won't be as crazy as this eviction was, but hey, you never know. Could be a lot of fun. Don't forget to subscribe to the Happy Hour if you don't already. Go to RHAPpyswebsite.com/RHAPpy Hour. That's happy hour with an R at the front to get the audio version. You can go to RHAPpyswebsite.com/YT to get the video version. You can see my impression of Chrissy during the double eviction on the video version of this podcast if you're listening to the audio archives. Okay, hashtag, guys. I think Willy Foo-Foo. I think that's a consensus. You guys cool with that?
Agreed.
Down with Willy Foo-Foo.
Okay, so we'll go with Willy Foo-Foo. If you want to add the expletive, you can, but we'll keep it PG for Rob. So hashtag Willy Foo-Foo. All right, so that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon. Brent, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
For Alex Kidwell and Brent Wolgamott, I'm Jordan Parhar. Hashtag Willy Foo-Foo. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace out.
You dig?